I'm not on yet, right? It's on? Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and how are you guys doing today? I know Linda Earl cannot be here with us today. She got to do something for her family. How are you guys doing? Jamie cannot be doing the podcast this week again. She's on the union break. I think we need to negotiate her contract right now. Maybe we don't want her to do the pre-show anymore. Anybody agree? I think she's listening right now. Okay. Huh?
I just got a call from the back room. They want to see you after the podcast.
Oh yeah? That's fine. Okay. Today's topic is actually, I know we have a large customer in Florida, and even though we have a heat wave today, it's actually, yesterday was over 90 here today. But a lot of this temperature, hot and cold, I know in Florida, in Orlando, they went down to the 30, high 30. So this kind of weather is actually perfect for a lot of fungi. So this week, I'm going to talk about just on fungi. So hold your horses if you want to think about the bacteria, totally different stuff. Bacteria is more of the disease for the summertime. So there's a lot more on the fungi. So it's totally different. So I'm only going to focus on the fungi disease. And how many of you have lost plant to the fungus or fungi, whether it's on the leaf or on the root, for example? Okay, anybody? I have, I throw away plant every week because for those of you new to the podcast, I started my nursery in '86 and with a degree in horticulture. So my emphasis and is always on the plant physiology. And about 25 years ago, I have a chance to just several trips to South America and to see the plant in natural. And it dawned on me that nobody spray fungicide or pesticide on the orchid that in the rainforest in South America, or could be on the ground in Asia for where a lot of the symbiont come from. And so I started with this mission, and actually it's a practice that not to use fungicide. Okay, and I had to use pesticide. But we should reduce as much pesticide as possible. That can be done, but I have not been using fungicide. Here's Jamie coming to get me.
Hi guys. I'm a little busy, so pre-show will be back hopefully next week.
Okay. So you can actually do it. When I was in school back in the '80s, so just like I said before, we were trained to use a lot of this fungicide, a lot of that. So almost like you are under this program that constantly using fungicide. But when I take the plant physiology classes or plant pathology classes, not only that they show you different kind of disease, but they really don't show you how to preventative on the disease. So I sort of custom and merge a lot of different philosophy of growing or fusion of my own philosophy of growing. You can actually do it without a lot of fungicide on that, especially if you are growing at home. And if you go under light, perfect. It's actually, if you grow everything, majority of your orchid in the house, whether it's a house plant or under light, you actually have a lot better control on the pest and disease already. And you just have to follow some of the rule of thumb, okay? But just make it simple. Please do not, if you don't change any of your cultural practice, because you read somewhere on the internet, there's a new sensation of boil your orchid, or banana peel, or a tea, even tea on your orchid. Don't try that. This is raise a question on our past group. We are a community. We have a lot of good grower here and good experienced grower. If you in doubt, just ask. It won't, nobody gonna laugh at you, and that's how we all learn. And okay, so it all started with this. Okay, fungi is in the air, and the number source of how you spray your fungi onto the plant is the water hose. Okay, in theory, this is true. One of the fungi that attack the leaf and the root is called Pythian and Phytophthora, and especially Pythian. If you have a standing water, okay, more than 2 hours, the concentration of the Pythian will increase. Okay, and they always going to be, not all the fungi are bad fungi. They also are good fungi that actually will suppress the bad one. But a lot of the bad fungi, like Pythian and Phytophthora, which usually attack the leaf, are standing water. Or this is why it's a good practice. Okay, when you water your plant, whether it's an orchid or in a garden plant, guess what? There's a lot of water in your garden hose, right? From previous week, previous day. I usually always turn it on. I know it's kind of wastewater, but turn it on for 2 minutes, minimum 2 minutes. That way you can flush out all the water that's been sitting in there in the water hose. Okay? Then secondly is, I get really upset if any of my staff had this. That's why we make a good practice. After we water the plant, we always take out the water breaker, because that way you don't have a chance of any of the water breaker sit on the floor of your benches, of your ground, and pick up the soil. And that's how, and when they touch the soil, God forbid if they drop like this. And guess what? All this area will pick up all the fungi spore. And then when you water the plant, you're actually helping them to distribute all this fungi to every plant, not just orchid, but for our outdoor garden, roses, vegetable. So the good practice is at my nursery, we remove this. Okay, we have a designated area in each greenhouse. You can do that too. That way we can air dry them, so they're not wet. All right, and then maybe once a month, okay, depending on how often you use it. Can you see this here? You notice that there's lots of the deposit could be from the water. Okay, might be clog up on the surface of the ornament, right in the front here. Okay, so this is why you want to make up a solution of 5-cent solution. Okay. Okay, so it's kind of dirty. Okay, so make up a solution of 5-cent solution, and then just soak it. Don't use bleach. Please do not use bleach at all. Just a 5-cent solution. Let it soak. I usually will fill up more all the way to the tips. Okay, and then any of your old toothbrush, I will just brush this off, so it will not have any of the. And also use a water hose to flush out all the debris that might be inside, and then air dry them. So every time when you finish your watering, okay, always remove from the watering hose for outside or in the greenhouse, and then that way it will not have an accident. Sometimes just accidentally fall on the floor. Separate them and air dry them. And that's it. So that was number one source of contamination, okay? Because right now, we all know about the COVID virus. So I think the awareness of the virus or the fungi is very similar, okay? And how many of you, when you water the moss, is by soaking the water? Like, I know sometimes we do a soaking of water, okay? Because sometimes when the moss is really dry, it's almost dry, it's easier to do the soaking. Make sure if you do the soaking of water, I would recommend you're soaking of your water, use some Physan in there. That way, and also be careful when you're doing the soaking. If any of the plant that do it, when you do a visual inspection, that is have a rotting problem, that this is okay. This is very healthy, okay, and this is Physan solution. If you want to do a soaking, okay, normally 6 plant per bucket of water, okay. I know sometimes you go under light. I know Jeff go under light, and by soaking it's a lot faster, especially in the summertime. But if just use fresh, every morning 6 plant, just dump it, and then have a fresh solution of Physan. That way, if one have root disease, you will not accidentally transmit into the plant. So that way, it doesn't will cost you your collection. Okay, so you have, and then another thing is, I'm using this is we've been watered yesterday, okay, and because the volume of the plant that we have, if you're at home, look at this is this morning. Can you see this water here? Okay, this is a bit normal. Okay, a lot of Phalaenopsis, for example, the Bonina, Valencia, the leaf will collect water here. Okay, and then Roger, see here, the shape of the leaf will also collect water. Okay, so luckily, because my program here, and Roger, look at this here, see the leaf here. Okay. Okay. The reason you might ask, hey, how come Norman, I don't have a root rotting disease? Well, first of all, we have very good air circulation, 24 hours, and also we have the Mega Dry, for example. Mega Dry help the plant develop better epidemic. So you see how the wax here, very waxy. So they're more resistant to the fungi. But I would still, if you're at home, after you water, make sure you tilt the plant. That way you can physically don't let the water stand here. Preferably not to let it stay overnight. Right here, see here. And this is why that in the greenhouse we have the fan in here, 24 hours. If you go under light, you should have a small fan, so there always constant air movement. If you live in Nevada, Denver, Colorado, very high altitude, your light is bright, so you're lucky. Your plant probably dry out in no time. But if you're in the Pacific Northwest, in Seattle or New York, Northeast, it's really cloudy, so your water might not dry as fast. So always after you water, go back. And for those orchids that tend to collect water in the crown and the leaf, do a tilted, okay? And the main thing is because the reason all these pathogens are whether in the water or in the air. In the water is a pythian. Okay, in the air a lot of Phytophthora. In the air one they have a lot of what I call a fungus spore. It's very microscopic. It's everywhere. Okay, very similar to when we have algae, but the air one they cannot germinate. They cannot penetrate the leaf without the presence of the moisture. So the water on the leaf is actually serve as a lubricant for them to penetrate the leaf. And same thing with the root disease too. So this is why you never want to have your orchid, in particular Phalaenopsis, to sit in the water. With the exception of there are some orchids that Fabian frag from South America, they love to sit in the water, but their root have a mechanism is more resistant to the standing water or the pythian in the water. So that's totally different story because there's always an exception in rule. But a lot of time, if you're going on vacation, for example, you can for 2 weeks or more, the one in the moss or the one in the orchid bark, you can actually let them sit in the water. Okay, I've done it before many, many times. But that waters, for sitting in water, better be the diluted 5-cent solution, a teaspoon per gallon of water. Because that's very diluted, and it's not going to affect. And then what happens if you have, we do have an infestation, and this is what I think I show you some. You can actually, this has been removed. You can actually physically remove the cut area. Last week I showed you some of the sunburn, very similar. On the Phalaenopsis, I usually like to use the really sharp razor blade, okay, because really clean cut, not the scissor. Scissor sometimes it will be cut more tissue on that. All right. Are we doing okay? Look at it. But look at that. The root is still very healthy. Okay, very good. What about Paphypedium? Okay, a lot of time people. Okay, Roger, can we focus on this one here? Okay, a lot of time when you see yellow spot, that doesn't mean they have disease, or in this case, a fungi disease. This is Paphypedium, a Maldiae type. Okay, and remember, we don't just spray fungicide here. So the plant will be subject, and this is the older leaf, and this is actually more physiologic discoloration. Okay, so I will not worry about this, because what happened is, this is just like when we had the age spot on our skin. Okay, eventually this is going to go sinuous, and my own philosophy is, it's not a disease, it's just a plant physiology. So do not panic especially on the older leaf. I would be worried if it's on the new leaf. But you have two choices. You can either use a razor blade and cut it if it really bothers you. But for me, well, suppose we have thousands and thousands of plants, I usually like to let it go sinuous or dry up by themselves, because that way when they detach between the leaf and the central crown, they will be a perfect seal by themselves naturally. So if I do a cut surface, for example, if you're in Florida, your environment may be really high humidity, or sometimes even rain. So then you're more subject to rotting from the cut surface, unless you cut it right away. Or some people like to use some cinnamon powder. That's okay. That's just more work. All right. So this is Paphypedium. How about Dendrobium? Okay, same thing with Dendrobium. Okay, this is the Dendrobium. The Dendrobium with Connectiatum. Okay, can we look at the leaf on this one here? Okay, when you see the leaf, because I do know the hybrid. Okay, this is what we call the Dendrobium with the Australian Connectiata. Okay, and with one of the species called Connectiatum grow in the very, very hot, like desert-like, in Australia. They can take up to 115 degrees, 110. It doesn't bother them, but they do not as heat tolerance. So a lot of time in the winter time, a lot of your Dendrobium, especially with the Connectiatum, that the petal looks like twisted, they usually are more sensitive to cold. And so this is not, for example, this is not from the disease or any fungi, but rather a stress from the cold. So, and then they usually will fall off by themselves. All right, and then this one here, I will just easily to pull off, because the plant is different. They're much stronger and tougher than the Phalaenopsis as far as the infection is concerned. So this is, you're going to do a lot of your evergreen type Dendrobium, for example. You don't worry, you're going to have this. As long as the program that we have for those are new, what we do is we always have a teaspoon of 5 cent 20. I will only get 5 cent because this is the only one that is labeled for orchid and USDA approved. There are some copycat or knockout, but if they name, I have this company is in Santa Ana. It's not 30 minutes from my nursery. We actually help them to get the label on the bottle for orchid because in the federal in the label in law, you cannot claim this is safe on orchid if you never do a research on orchid. There's lots of time. There are some company knockout in order to save their research money. They will say good on all ornamental, okay, but not ornamental is a very big umbrella. That doesn't mean it will be okay on our orchid, the one we grow in, because ornamental plant is such a broad umbrella, in legal terms. So I would, if you never try anything that the label did not say orchid, you better try a couple plant yourself rather than spray on every plant. All right. So once a month at our nursery, we use a 5 cent, a teaspoon per gallon of water as a preventative program. Okay. The label says a tablespoon on orchid, but I think that's a little bit strong because now we not grow, because when we do the label, the test plant was Cymbidium, Calaria, Phalaenopsis, but now we have a lot of people who grow other orchid, even some Phalaenopsis species with a very thin leaf. A tablespoon per gallon is too strong for them. So that's why I always suggest a teaspoon per gallon of water. That way the plant or pathogen will not build up resistance, okay? Because later on, once you have some kind of problem, in this case, after I cut it and the next watering, you put all your problem plant in an area, a quarantine area, and then when I drench with 5 cent, then I increase to a tablespoon per gallon, stronger, because you don't, that way, when the 1 tablespoon per gallon is the maximum I will go on orchid. Do not make your own cocktail mix. You want to try mix several company, several chemical together. Don't do that, because a lot of time, everybody have different pH in your water. Okay, sometimes the pH is too low or too high. You have 2 different chemicals together. They might have some kind of back reaction that you don't that will cause this more permanent damage to your orchid. Are we doing okay? Doing okay? Good. So basically, fungi is a lot easier to control. So I'm going to review this again. Keep your water breaker clean. Mark it on your calendar. At least disinfect them with 5 cent, a tablespoon, a gallon of water, at least once a month. In the summertime, I do it more often because we have a lot of plants. And I use city water, so the lots of city water, they might have debris stay inside. So after you use it, always break it away from your water hose, and your watering hose also should be hanging. The tip doesn't touch the floor. And then every time you use it, before you connect it to the water hose again, let it run for minimum 2 minutes. So the water inside the watering hose will just flush it out, because anytime any standing water for more than 2 hours, your protein gonna go up. And if standing water for a long time, more than 2 hours, it had ratio of concentrated so high, that's how you spread the disease. All right. And I'm going to show you something really ugly. This is part of the worst example. Okay. And this is Paphypedium. Okay. And this, we usually dump this long time ago, but I purposely leave it there. This is the perfect example of the Pythian and phytophthora rot. It's combination 2. You see here, Paphypedium or lady zipper. Roger, can you see that? This is what happens when the water stay in the crown. Okay, when they do it, and the Paphiopedium, a lot of the lady zipper, even the Bordeaux type, they grow under cooler night temperature, so they're very subject to the water might not dry by night. I'm wiping on my hand because touch that. This is the result of the petium. The water staying here, okay, and they penetrate into here and to the crown. So basically, even the leaf looks like green, but they pretty much penetrate the apical meristem, and it went down to the root. And I'm going to show you what happened down to the root. Okay. Usually we just toss it. Okay, but this is really bad. See, all the new growth is down there, and the root is so stressed, the root is not able even to pick up any water. And take a look, they all discount. And this is what happened here. See, Roger, you can see there's a white-ish here. Can we point out here? Okay, do not touch that. This is some mycelium or the fungi, and this is why if I want to do a damage to somebody really nasty in my neighbor, take this to your neighbor's house, and you're gonna or don't even put it in your garden. Don't even use this for compost, because you're gonna germinate more fungi here. Okay, I will usually just take the whole thing with a pot. Don't even try to save the pot. Put in the plastic bag and seal it, and then trash it. Okay. And in my own nursery, sometimes I have this rubbing alcohol, or you can get the Clorox. I like the rubbing alcohol. Okay, and so that way the alcohol is actually will germinate all the fungi spore possible be in your hand. Okay, so fungi is actually not that difficult. It's all about when we space out the plant, make sure there's air circulation, and when you do water them, okay, make sure they already water early enough so the plant got to dry out. If you cannot be in our nursery situation, we were doing everything hand water. We do not have a sprinkler system here. That's another reason, because a sprinkler head system is not going to spread the disease, especially for bacteria. So yesterday was actually, I am personally water some of my plant until 4 p.m. yesterday, and this is why the plant, some of the leaf did not all dry out. But I'm confident because I have a system about 18 years now. This greenhouse environment, because every month we have a 5 cent, so we already cut down a lot of fungi spore or population in the environment. So it's a nice equilibrium. The greenhouse itself had their own ecological system already. So this is why you want to do a 5 cent. And if you a lot of time, I think on my previous post, every time we finish one crop, we move on, we consolidate the space, and we actually have 5 cent, and then disinfect the benches, because a lot of benches can be your source of your contamination. And also, I do not use any organic fertilizer. I do not like kale. Kale is organic, and every batch of kale is different. It could be from kale from Mexico Bay in the warm water in the north area. So, but kale, that was the old-fashioned way of it's good for your garden, okay? Because garden is outdoor in the soil, but it's organic. Do not use any organic fertilizer. The reason being, organic material like fish, for example, fish oil is a decomposed oil, fish something. They're going to give you more fungi, more problem. Not only that, they are also going to decompose your potting media faster than normal. Okay, and another reason we dye Physan is Physan is actually going to help extend the potting mix for sometimes as well a year. Sometimes on the big phalaenopsis, we can get up to 3 years without repotting them. The moss is still good because they got disinfested. Okay, and that's about it for fungi. And I will do another segment on the bacterial. The bacterial is a lot more troublesome and almost impossible to do. And if you do have a very bad case of the fungus or possibly even bacterial, Physan is for preventative program. It will not kill or eliminate anything you got on the plant. The only way to suppress or control your disease is by what we call the phyton. This is the phyton, and phyton 27, and it's a very I love the formulation because it's a copper base. You know, you don't want to use on the dendrobium, but the phyton 27 is so advanced. I have personally tried on some of the dendrobium, especially the Kingianum or Australian dendrobium. The phyton, even though have the copper in there, once you spray them, it does not have that blue deposit that is some of the old Colsite 101. And it's a very smart and modern formulation. Once you spray them, for my recommendation for my customer in Florida, for example, in South Florida in particular, is to use phyton every 6 months, because one application of phyton, it will going to have a nice film to protect the leaf, especially in South Florida. You have a lot of hurricane, and when the hurricane comes, they bring in a lot of pathogen in the air and the water. So phyton is good, and especially and if you go under light, the population or the pressure on number of plant might be there. It's also good to use phyton on the plant as a preventative if you find the situation is bad. Okay, but always try to prevent the problem and always space up and water the plant. Take the time to observe your plant and make sure the leaf does not dry out. Okay, and as far as the phalaenopsis, make sure the leaf, the crown here, is dry up. And for the Cattleya grower, okay. For the Cattleya grower, a lot of times right after the flower finish. Okay. I just dropped my phone. Okay. For the Cattleya, right after the flower finish, make sure you remove this old flower right away and toss it. And this is the time for Cattleya, for example. You want to make sure you remove all this dead sheet because the water can stay inside. Okay, remove it. All the sanitation is very important. Because if you don't remove this and the sheet, they're going to stay inside. And I use this time. You see, this is too long. You see how they're really mushy. Okay, this is have a lot part. Okay, this is why you don't want to remove this. Okay, wipe this off. And if you got any scar on this, do not worry. This is just some mechanical damage. And after that, just make sure this is removed as clean as possible. And I'm going to use another finer tool. Okay, that way they're not going to collect water here. Okay, and I always like to have good practice. I like to remove all the suitable, make sure all the sheet is exposed, so they cannot be hide any pests or possible pathogen. What up? Okay, and that's it about the career. So just use that philosophy to do this. Preventative is a lot better than trying to use a lot of chemical that we have. And to be honest, most of the chemical in the United States, as far as fungicide is concerned, they do not kill fungi. It is impossible to kill fungi because it's in the air. But if you prank out the fungi, because if it's so can eliminate everything, you do not want to use it. I do not want to use it. But most of the fungicide, systematic type, they just suppress. Okay, so this is why I do not like to use fungicide. I do 18 years no fungicide. I want the plant to build an immune system, a resistant themselves, rather rely on chemical. Because what happens is there are nursery that use chemical every week, and then they suppress it. But the minute they leave their nursery, voila, they don't have the plant itself do not have that luxury of the chemical to suppress it. Then a lot of disease are showing up because the plant is being baby to subject with that. So think about how plant grow in natural. Okay, think about how plant grow in the wild too. They do not, nobody spray that much pesticide or fungicide on them. So not spraying that much fungicide, I save my company a lot more money. Yes, I had and then the weaker one, like the seeding, generically they are more weak, we just throw away. And then the weaker one will not end up at your house. We throw it away. And this is why sometimes people are saying, Norman, how come someone use seeding? The price the hybrid seeding novelty can be as expensive, like 25 or 35 as the clone, because sometimes, especially with novelty, they're more subject to pest and disease. We just throw away. But we did that in the laboratory. In the lab, we had so many polychrome, but each seed pod may have up to 100,000 seeding. Each crosses, we usually don't do more than 1,000. So then the lab technician always constantly picking up the strongest grower for you. So it's a trickle down effect. By the time it comes to our nursery, to a brimming side, generically, we already screen out all the weak grower for you already. And this is why one of the reasons I think a lot of people have success with my plant, because I'm very particular about this, because garbage in, garbage out. Everybody have their philosophy of growing. I'm very committed to my own health and the quality of the plant go to my customer. Alrighty, so this is the thing about fungus. So what happened with the fungus? Okay, and the other thing about the fungus too, the cold stress. And I think last week I showed you spray with the minute after you have cold rain. Okay, water all your plant with 5 cents for this infestation, and also you can actually spray with my Mega Dry before the cold front come in, especially the outdoor orchid. Sometimes you cannot just move all the vanda in your house. I know I've seen people we move hundreds of vanda into the house in the living room. But there are some orchid, the Camellia, you can leave it outdoor. But also want to leave outdoor, spray them with 5 cents. I show you some of the orchid that in my retail area went down to 42 degrees because the heater went off. And because of holiday, I cannot get the plumber to come in to fix the unit heater. The first thing I do is no water, and I spray everything in the greenhouse with fight make it dry, and I do not water for almost 1 month. Just keep it dry, keep it dry. The worst thing you can do is under the cold weather, just water your plant, and then the moisture in the moss, okay, and went down to the pot, and it become icy. They kill the root first because it's too cold for them, and then when the spring come, when the plant need to have root to absorb water and nutrient, it's not there, and that's why you usually don't see the damage from the cold damage until the weather warm up. Okay, that's about the session for the fungi. Okay, any question?
Does Phycin kill virus?
Yes, it's on the label. Outside, not inside the plant. Once the plant got virus, it's permanent. Okay, so I'm gonna have a session on, next one will be on fungi, and the biggest one will be on virus. Okay, there's a lot of myth about virus. Okay, so don't worry about it. The virus is there. Virus can be in the tool, can be your hand. If you smoke, your hand will have tobacco mosaic virus. Okay, so if you're a smoker, whether it's cigar, cigarette, wear a glove when you repot your orchid, because you're gonna have a physical contact with the tissue of your orchid. Okay, so but Phycin will eliminate the virus. The virus is a protein. The virus is not fungi, and this is not spore. Virus is a protein, and that's why virus is hard to get rid of, because the virus can be easy stay on your hand, on your clothes, on your pen, on the tool. So, but if you have Phycin, this is why Phycin once a month I disinfect everything, because if it happen the fungi virus spore protein was there, it dissolve the coat of the virus and deactivate it. Okay.
So if a person is collecting rainwater, do they need to treat the rainwater before it's used?
Yes, I would do that. I would use rainwater before you use them. I would put some Phycin in there. Usually, if rainwater, anything that you have been standing there for a long time, okay, I would put some Phycin there. Never use bleach. Always Phycin. Okay. All right. So we're going to do some tip of the week. Okay. I'm going to show you this. Remember several weeks ago, I showed you how to spot the tip of the Oncidium, right? Here's another one. Okay, so this is the Oncidium. In this case, cherry baby. I'm not going to release this. Remember I showed you I cut the tip, and I told you it's going to have better branch. It does. See here? And I also remove the foreskin here, and then that will give it a see, this is the one that did not got removed, and they will kind of bunch up here. Okay, too late. But when I remove this, all this foreskin here has been removed, and they have better branching, better presentation. And this has been removed too. Okay. You see the branching here? So this is why sometimes the cherry baby, especially hot weather, they can be really tall, just too tall, and they do not have good branching. So by doing the break the tip of the flower spike, it break the apical dominant, and it will give you better presentation. So if you have a two spike, voila, now I have a topiary. At Christmas time, at Valentine's Day, If I want, I can even bend this into a heart shape. Isn't that pretty? And that way you can, instead of one really long, especially at hot weather, Texas, Arizona, they're going to be really stretched and it doesn't have a lot of side branching like this. Now you have a very presentable. This is the size of the share baby that we sell. We have this on the website still, and they're just spiking right now. So at the this is the, and this is we've been tested. Went to Smithsonian at the DC. This one doesn't have virus. It's virus clean. Look how pretty the leaf. Okay, beautiful. Okay, and so this will be for Valentine's Day with the combination Mega Dry and Norman Fang. This grow is going to be coming out for Mother's Day. All right, so when they plant out happy, you have sufficient nutrient. They can support the flower, and so eager to get going for the next grow. And this is going to give you the flower for Mother's Day. Isn't that wonderful? So by doing so, I can give in with the proper nutrient, all right, up to 3 times a year. Because after Mother's Day, I can repot it, not divide it, repot it, and the next grow will be for the fall, for possible October, November for Thanksgiving. Voila. Okay. That's tip of the week.